In the past week, we've seen the climax of battle operations in Libya, with the death of dictator Muammar Gaddafi, who was discovered hiding in a drain pipe and subsequently beaten and tortured before being executed. The rebel fighters began dancing around him like raving lunatics and posing for photos with his corpse. The details of his death are extremely disturbing to me. He was begging for mercy as they stomped on him, pulled his hair out, and shot him in both feet and then the head. This group of rebels clearly has a standard on human rights that is no higher than the man they just deposed. We should not be supporting these revolutions because no civilized society has mob executions in the streets and actually supports it. This revolution, in my opinion, is going to produce more of the same kind of totalitarianism. No government that sheds this much blood in a coup to come to power is ever going to surrender its omnipotence to the uncertain waters of democracy. They feel that they deserve the right to rule because of their sacrifices. They never step down. Calling them a transitional council is fraudulent. But let history speak for itself. Fidel Castro, Chairman Mao, Ayatollah Khomeini, the Soviet dictators Lenin and Stalin, and Hitler all seized power through coups and ruled with iron fists until their deaths. These are the kind of figures that are produced by such bloody violence, figures not unlike Gaddafi himself. This revolution will not result in stable democracy. We understand so little about Middle Eastern culture, it's hard for us to help by acting with the forcefulness we do. The Roosevelt corollary was a policy at the turn of the 20th century that said America would interfere with Latin American affairs to prevent Europeans from bullying them over debts or a desire to sequester natural resources. This policy is expanded to the whole globe, resulting in America having its nose in everyone's business when it smells an opportunity to gain economically, not to help out of genuine concern. Ever notice how we destabilize countries so we can implant our own dictators and rape the land of natural resources? We need to keep a friendly puppet government about so we can secure oil and exiguous responses to our needless world policing. Darfur is helped scarcely while the oil-rich Middle East is watched like a small child in a big crowd. To those of you who say that our global presence is vital to national security, I would propose that the exact opposite is true. Our omnipresence in global affairs causes much of the enmity with which we have with foreign countries. Ron Paul had it right when he said that we could cut the defense budget without hurting security by removing bases in countries that thoroughly resent our presence. This would also allow us to fix the fact that our military is stretched so thin. It would reduce hostility and actually help protect us from being the one guy at the party who everyone hates but tolerates out of necessity. The Islamics hate us because we're arrogant, pushy, and imperialistic, not because we're free and the envy of the world. Bin Laden himself even said that the unfair treatment we gave Palestine in foreign relations caused much of the hostilities between us and Al-Qaeda. Logic would dictate that if we stopped forcing ourselves on these third world countries, then we wouldn't have so much enmity in the world abroad. The best way to ensure our national security is to stop disrespecting the sovereignty of other nations through our big stick policies, which, like it or not, have a big part in creating these serious threats. In the 1970s, we had a major oil crisis, and Afghanistan had a war with Russia and a lot of oil. So we armed the Mujahideen, which included Osama bin Laden and many future Al-Qaeda members to the teeth, and watched as their country was devastated and 500,000 to 1 million lives were lost. These conditions allowed Al-Qaeda to emerge and gave us a very calculated and anticipated excuse to reoccupy the land. Note that Afghanistan is very rich in lithium and other minerals. We allow these unreliable forces to seize power and create an environment that leads to human rights abuses, so we have an ample reason to intervene in the scenario. Does anyone really think that a rebel group of barbaric lunatics who torture people and fire automatic weapons into the air is going to further democracy? I don't. We'll be back in Libya in 20 years from now when this transitional council is using military force against the next group of rebels in the same manner Gaddafi did. When all of the war hawks and hippies will have a consensus that there is actually a need to go over there and fix high gas prices, secure our national sovereignty. Meanwhile, slaves are still laboring in diamond mines in Africa and we put their rings on our fingers.